So what is Agenda 2030? In 2015, world, basically, the world took initiative to commit themselves to the transformative change by 2030. And this initiative came into force in 2016. And with this, the world basically reaffirmed the commitment to sustainability. So now we have 17 goals to reach in less than 4,500 days. So all prepared. We are behind. As far as our club is concerned, we are very, want to be on schedule. Regarding then, do we need to discuss the sustainability as a concept? Is it clear to everyone what it is? This is the commonly adopted definition, and it's usually based on these three pillars: social, environmental, economic sustainability. And these three pillars are taken over into the Agenda 2030 as well. However, it's way more expanded and enriched with other contributions. Still, what is Agenda 2030? So it is a historically unique uniform action by the countries to commit to the Sustainable Development Goals. It is unique because it was unanimously adopted by 193 member states of the UN, and there is a common movement within all of the countries to this quantifiable goal of 2030. If you read the declaration that was made by the 193 members, the declaration actually compares it almost to the creation of the UN itself. And that's how important the consolidation of the enthusiasm here is for the UN. And the question is, we heard about sustainability before, we heard about for so many times, so what is happening now? Why is this different? The Agenda 2030 builds on Millennium Development Goals, which were launched in 2000. So by 2015, there were goals to be achieved. You see the 8 basically goals. The difference now is that this is much more comprehensive, and we have more included. The targets now are for all countries, not just the ones that are considered to be emerging countries, but for all countries. The SDGs were developed by open work group, not just specialized experts from over 70 countries, basically. And this think tank thought of the 17 goals. And one of the most important things is that now SDGs ask the question why. Why these things are happening. And they go to the root of these things and how these things are all interconnected. Nexus is very, very important here. So we go away from just this model, and it now everybody's business to get to 2030. I like this definition or a quote given from advocacy group for the sustainability. They said that the Millennium Goals were only halfway measure, so to say. And here we're going to the statistical zero on this. So this is a very, very ambitious program, but this is basically they decided that halfway just doesn't work. It just scratches the surface and does not involve everyone. And to achieve real transformative impact, we need to go for all of it, basically. And this is Plan A, and we will get to that phrase later. And as we said, the sustainability rests on the 3 pillars. And of course, there are 5 P's, as in everything. There must be 5 P's. So, and here we have people prepared to plan in partnership and peace. But what is now new, this partnership and peace, this is the addition in SDGs. And they put a very big emphasis on this partnership and the achievement of the peace, because without these 2 factors, it's basically, they must be in there. The genuine sustainability sits on the core 5 dimensions, and this is basically the picture to that, but we actually have a nice video recommended to us by the UN Staff College that gives a course on UN Sustainable Development Goals. They recommended us this video.
By endorsing Agenda 2030 and its 17 goals, the world community has reaffirmed its commitment to sustainable development, to ensure sustained and inclusive economic growth, social inclusion and environmental protection, and to do so in partnership and peace. Agenda 2030 is universal, transformative and rights-based. It's an ambitious plan of action for countries, the UN system and all other development actors. The agenda inspires us to think creatively about the sustainability challenges of today so we can develop the right partnerships and take the right actions. At the heart of the agenda are 5 critical components: people, prosperity, peace, partnership, planet. These, in turn, underpin the 17 Sustainable Development Goals and are applicable in all countries. Agenda 2030 and the SDGs are not simply items on a checklist. They represent a holistic approach to understanding and tackling problems by guiding us to ask the right questions at the right time. To achieve this, we need to consider several challenges in order to work out how they connect with and impact upon each other. Finding these interdependencies helps us to address the root causes of problems and to create long-term solutions. So how does this work? Sustainable development is usually viewed through a lens of 3 core elements: economic growth, social inclusion, and environmental protection. But it's important to remember that these are not just categories or boxes, they are connected and have aspects in common. For example, a health challenge like tuberculosis is not only determined by an unhealthy lifestyle, it could also be influenced by other factors such as poverty or air quality. To develop this approach a step further, 2 critical dimensions that will drive Agenda 2030 were adopted by member states: partnership and peace. Partnerships strengthen the capacities of all stakeholders to work together. Peace, justice and strong institutions are essential for improvements in the 3 core areas. Genuine sustainability sits at the center, and it will be important to consider each of the SDGs through the lens of these 5 dimensions. Of course, we can't consider every possible angle of a single challenge. That's why it's crucial to build partnerships to share knowledge and expertise, to learn how we can jointly address challenges. This requires new ways of working together, focused on co-creation. National ownership is fundamental to address challenges properly. Many organizations and actors have an important role to play. Their involvement ensures long-term engagement and guarantees that no one is left behind. The universal nature of Agenda 2030 also asks us to look at the planet as one. Every country, every community has issues to address, and everyone shares the responsibility and ownership to address the challenges that face us collectively. To move forward, we must develop the right capacities for Agenda 2030. We need to invest in lifelong learning to be able to advocate for change, foster action for implementation, measure progress, and to identify and empower new partners to support Agenda 2030. We all need to lead the way towards the vision of a better world within our lifetime, because only if we ask the right questions and seek the right answers, and only if we take our responsibility seriously, will we be able to achieve a truly transformational agenda, leaving no one behind.
I hope this clarified a little bit about the dimensions and the core principles, and then we will go back to the hopefully. My apologies. I still don't know how to. So this is where we stopped. No.
Can you just play up top?
That would be too sensible. Okay. Then quiz time. Who can name any of the SDGs here? Yuha, can you name number 11?
That's sustainable cities and communities.
Ah.
14 and 15.
14. Can you name it?
Living below the water, living on land. 14 and 15?
Yes, correct. Emily, can you? What is your favorite SDG? Can you name it?
13, climate protection.
Can you?
Number 4, good education. What is education?
So you don't need the text, actually. You're already more or less familiar. Marina?
16, justice. 5, equality, gender.
I see, so there are more or less self-explanatory too. So, good. And yeah, this is basically the text. So, the thing about the goals is that they're not the Agenda 2030. They're the focus points of the whole agenda put in these 17 goals, you know. But we say 17, but how many actually are we to achieve? Who knows? There is a number. It's 169. Because each of the goal has very definitive targets under each of the goals. And they're all very well described on the various UN resources. I like very much the You Need to Know. Can recommend it. It's very nicely explained. Link. And this is just an example to you. So this is responsible consumption and production as the goal. And then you have all of these targets under that. And they're quite precise. So if you like precise targets, here you have it here as well. If you like to be creative, it also is very much appreciated from what I read under Agenda 2030. And you have to be creative because this is a very different world environments that we find ourselves in. So take a look. Under each of the goals, under 17 goals, there is a number of targets, very precise ones as well. So what I like about the SDGs, what kind of looks to me, is the core principles, that it's universality, that no one is left behind, and we start with the weakest, that it includes everyone this time, everyone has to work. The notion of partnerships, and by partnerships they here understand on a very global level, also with governments, also with between non-state actors and the governments and the larger meta-organizations, but also on the local level. So this is going way out of a scale that has been done before. And what is not written here, but what I really like and what was in the beginning, is transformative. This is supposed to be a really, truly transformative action. And this really speaks out to me, for example, because we want to see feasibility, transformation, that you can be, as said, creative about the actions you want to take and look at things completely out of the box and turn them around, even in your local community. And but to the question of all countries, as I said before, that the environment is quite diverse. So we're really talking about all countries like Switzerland. But if you look, this is the dashboard from an SDGs index, and you see this is the OECD countries. The index goes way beyond that. They go by regions, but look, in red is still what needs to be done, and you see that many countries from OECD, they still lag behind on many factors. I really recommend looking into this. This is Australia, Austria, Belgium, Canada, and this is how much they need to achieve on this. So the red index is shortcoming, basically. And I very much recommend to read the SDG index and the 2017 report. You will be quite amazed to see things like this, for example, where you have look at the place 42, it's United States. Look where we have Switzerland, that's fine. Okay, it's 8, but the first 3 are Sweden, Denmark, Finland. So these are not even the largest countries in the world. The thing, what's known here, and I don't want to single out the United States, but it's one of the richest countries in the world, one of the biggest as well, and this is what we kind of have. And from in the first 20, we have from the G7, how many countries as well? 2, I think. The thing with the countries that there is a problem with overall still involvement. And one of the main issues here is called the negative spillover effect. This is what is basically the risks that we're facing here, and what is the effect that is happening when the rich countries versus the emerging countries and globally. And who do we see on top here? Which country? Switzerland. This is where we are. So Switzerland is on top of this negative spillover effect chart. And so this is something to take into consideration, that it's not a standalone island here or any of the countries that are in the OECD index, basically. So that is one of the, so to say, impressive charts that I've seen in terms of discussion we had about where we stand actually. This is why we get so involved here. And also, we all come from different backgrounds. I come from Russia. I have a different comparison to the problems here and in Russia. Juha comes from Finland, is one of the top 3 countries. So we all the time discuss what is actually, how does this apply to us, you know? And we see that while we're here in this community, and there is also thought to be forward for the local action as well, because this is what happens, basically. And the problem with the rich countries, as they call them, that it's the sustainable consumption and production, one of the main issues. And this is the issue also for Switzerland, the same as decarbonization. This is 2 issues that were in the discussions popped up, actually. Then we also went to ask Caritas Central Switzerland, Caritas Lucerne, what they think the problem is, because they have the infrastructure, they're involved on so many levels, and they came back and said that poverty is an issue Central Switzerland. It's crippling on the younger population, and that's again you have the issue of where does it start, and then there is no turning back. So these things are quite relevant everywhere, and we can find in any community the way to advance the agenda. It's not to say that nothing is done here. Switzerland is quite active. The Swiss government have taken they have a whole program. You can find it in the Agenda 23rd admin. With a timeline, what they want to do. It mainly involves cooperation, information involvement in research, and the commitment to reporting on the issues. But there are many initiatives just emerging, so the same as the Sustainable Development platform from the UN. It just launched this year in Switzerland, so the consolidation of information is still going on, and we want to contribute to it. And basically, where do we stand with that? That we start with this, But there are two ways to approach this, and this is what we were discussing within our organization as well, is the most important thing, and everybody agrees, is the change within. Everyone has to change their attitude. And but this is one of the, could be said, idealistic approaches, but it's the most sustainable in the end of the day. But while we're getting there, we need a little bit to educate ourselves about the principles, because the agenda is quite set ambitious. By 2030, it means we really need to learn what is going on and fast. And critical things, a way of approaching life, which is not written here, and the concentrated effort of everyone. And this is what we want to say, that everyone can own an SDG, be creative, think of transformative actions completely out of, how to change things. Ask question why. We had this discussion recently. We had a workshop on the impact, and once we started asking questions why to the problem, you won't believe it, that there was completely different ways of approaching social issue. And then you find a completely different solution. So we need to get together to discuss these things quite regularly too. And use UN tools. They actually have very interesting lazy guide to SDGs, what you can do. There is like a whole list for each SDG, what you can do, like basically not getting off your couch, but also if you really are interested in some the transformative actions. With the progress, and this is, I will just skip that. With the progress, we are not. I read a report where it says that we are slowing down a little bit, but in a way, and I'll go back. There is a need of more involvement here, for example, in Switzerland, of non-state actors with the government, and more consolidation of this effort that we talked about before. But I think this is happening. This is what we are basically will be working on. And as one of the things I wanted to show, one of the few things is here in Zug, we look around and what do we see? In November 2016, Swiss Impact Investment Association in Zug gathered over 40 entrepreneurs to agree and commit to Declaration on Sustainable Development Goals. Klaus Michael will tell us about this. And the Swiss federal government is going to be present at our events, on our association's national event, on getting to know SDGs and taking leadership. Industry champions like Roche, who are here today, they're incorporating the sustainability principles, but not just as a means of policy, they're actually taking action on that. And this was also mentioned as one of the problematic issues going back to the Millennium Goals, that many things are taken just as the policies incorporating, but companies are not taking the real action in this respect. This requires change of mind, of course, of mindset. And this is where, again, the discussion is are SDGs good for business or not when they come in? And this is what we heard.
Heute um 10:50 Uhr haben Sie die Möglichkeit, bei uns einen Menschen für ein persönliches Gespräch auszuladen. Als Gesprächspartner stehen zur Auswahl eine Rollstuhlfahrerin, ein Imam, ein Rohstoffhändler und 2 Polyamoröse. Schauen Sie in unserer Reisebibliothek im 2. Stock vorbei, wenn Sie Lust auf ein spannendes Gespräch haben.
It's telling me to wrap up, but I won't. No, just for 2 more minutes. And this is basically, we've got this from the Stiftung, the slide about the Zug Declaration. There are some principles, but this is very interesting because this was a summit that held here in Zug, and they're planning another activity this year. And the companies are quite committed on. We have actually a number of companies that have impact investment and sustainability as part of their business, if not like one of the defining businesses principles. So, and there is the outlook, and it's very much showing that in Zug, if you want to go in a canton level and ask about SDGs, it will be Swiss Impact Investment Association. So they go right to the root of the transformative actions, one of the things, in my opinion. And this is not attitude, as I understood, shared by all kind of business associations, despite the fact that such big players as International Chamber of Commerce are partner to the UN, and they are one of the observers of the SDGs action. So the business is there, but it's very interesting that in Zug here we are quite on the forefront from the business side on this. And here, again, we look around. We have a guest today from Coder Dojo Club in Zug. So we have Zug Library. What you heard is basically they're doing a big promotion of their digital library and actions like today, the human library. So inclusiveness, education, and given opportunities. This is what they're doing. Yachts, Animation Club. Thomas is here today supporting this. So they're supporting youth in Zug since 1974 on a very creative level. So these guys are quite. JCI Switzerland, they have started a very interesting set of workshops throughout the Switzerland that they're launching for students to find their way around the SDGs. And I think we have today representatives from ISIC as well. Yes, Melanie. This is where we go for lunch today. In Intermezzo, everyone knows where, if you know the crepe. They're the ones who are supporting the, basically, Zugeische Werkstatt für Behinderte. So this speaks for itself. So, and they were actually quite happy to welcome us there today. So, and Caritas Luzern, they're again sending regards to everyone. They couldn't come, but we got in contact with them in the awareness campaign against poverty. And for us, it was, as to everyone else, quite a surprise to learn that this is a creeping problem that can undermine the pillars of the society, basically. And us. Just one word about then JCI and JCI Switzerland. We have started the many interesting campaigns, and we're, as a UN accredited association, there's a lot of going on, many projects, like such as No Food Waste, World Cleanup Day. We will participate in it. It's not our project, but we are going to be a partner in that. And by the way, everyone in September, welcome to join in to the World Cleanup Day. We're going to try to organize something. We can do it together, but all of you can do it separately. And we have global initiatives in many countries. Adelaide knows some of the initiatives. We have in Scandinavia, in Asia, in Eastern Europe. So that would be something if you want to learn about it. Basically, and we're here for you. If you think of something like a project or an idea and you don't have time or you don't know how to approach it, just tell us. Maybe we can find a way to do it together somehow. We're quite skilled in trying to find funding, project skills. All of us use what we know. So this is what we do. And just to conclude with this quote about the SDGs. So this is plan A, there is no plan B, basically. So, with this, I conclude my part. And then